From all in AI to being all in PUA, when the right ideas meet the wrong era. PUA, originally an acronym for pickup artist, but in contemporary Chinese workplace slang, it has come to mean psychological manipulation or gaslighting by a superior who uses their positional power to impose demands under the guise of good advice, making employees feel controlled rather than empowered. I recently came across two videos that made me laugh and then made me stop and think for a long time. First video, a department head calls a meeting. He asks everyone to cast their phones to the TV to present PowerPoints, stressing that you don't need a computer to run a meeting anymore, a demonstration of how convenient domestic AI has become. Then he waxes lyrical about working from home once brain computer interfaces go mainstream and declares that China has already leapfrogged the US in AI application layers because, he says, iPhones don't even have a simple touch to cast function. He demands that 70 to 80% of the company's business be AI-fied, that we develop proprietary enterprise agents, and that every employee puts in an extra 2 hours a day to learn AI skills. Finally, he announces the first AI skills competition and gives everyone an assignment. How can my role apply AI in depth? And on the spot, he holds up an employee named Haisheng as a model, because Haisheng has already used AI to complete 100 tasks. Second video, the newly appointed business unit head, Xu Haisheng, a US-educated founder who sold an AIGC startup, then became the youngest creative director in a Silicon Valley Fortune 500 at 28, contrasts workplace cultures in China and America. He argues that young Chinese people are too obsessed with the stability of postgraduate exams and civil service jobs and calls himself an adventurer. He recommends international AI tools like GPT and Gemini, urges everyone to read The Economist and Bloomberg Businessweek, and suggests swapping short video doom scrolling for Netflix and Apple TV during lunch breaks. He peppers his speech with English and wraps up by proposing a team dinner paid for with Apple Pay because he only brought US dollars in cash. Online, these two clips have been turned into comedy sketches, workplace rants, and managerial gaslighting compilations. The comments are a mix of haha and I'm suffocating. But here's my counterintuitive question. If we set aside the fact that these speakers are bosses, are the things they say actually wrong? AI is reshaping office work. Screen mirroring can be done from a phone. China's AI penetration is rising rapidly. Young people are overly risk-averse. GPT and Gemini are better than most domestic tools. The Economist and Bloomberg Businessweek are high-quality cognitive inputs. The content itself is almost entirely correct. So why does it feel like gaslighting? That's what I want to talk about today. It's not that the content is toxic, it's that the structure is toxic. Part 1. Why does the boss's rightness sound like oppression? Let me start with a thought experiment. Suppose the protagonists of those two videos weren't managers, but a 28-year-old YouTuber making a vlog with exactly the same content. How I use AI to manage 100 tasks in Silicon Valley. Why Chinese young people need more adventure. What would the comments look like? Most likely, thanks for sharing. So impressive. Saved. Please share your tool list. Same content, different identity, and it shifts from knowledge sharing to workplace coercion. Why? Because in the Chinese workplace context, the word boss carries an implicit premise. He is the evaluator, you are the evaluated. Every word he says can find its way into your KPI. When the boss says all in AI, the employee hears not, this is an interesting direction to explore, but from tomorrow you have to prove how much of your job has been AI-fied. When he says put in an extra 2 hours a day to learn AI, the employee hears not lifelong learning is good for you, but your current working hours aren't enough. Now you need to work overtime for free on something I may not even be able to measure. When he holds up Haisheng as a model, the employee hears not Haisheng is a self-motivated colleague, but a new benchmark for internal competition has been set, and next month your numbers had better look good too. When Xu Haisheng says young people are too obsessed with stability, the employee hears not adventure can bring growth, but in my eyes, you who chase exams and secure jobs are losers. When he recommends GPT and Gemini, the employee hears not these tools are genuinely useful, but the domestic tools you use are beneath me. When he suggests Netflix over short videos at lunch, The employee hears not quality input matters, but even what you watch in your break is now being instructed. See? The content isn't wrong, but the structure is. In a pyramid shaped power structure, any suggestion from above is automatically translated into a demand. In a workplace driven by existential anxiety, any role model is automatically translated into a rat race indicator. This isn't a content problem. It's a rupture between the industrial era organization and the AI era individual. Part 2: The paradox of all in AI. Right direction, wrong driver. Let's dig deeper into the all in AI strategy itself. On a cognitive level, I largely agree. AI is reshaping workflows. AI agents can take over swathes of transactional work. People who master AI tools will out efficient those who don't. For a company, pushing for full AI adoption is a survival necessity. For an individual, refusing to learn AI is voluntarily giving up future competitiveness. But if I were that employee in the meeting room, I'd ask three questions. First, whose all in are we talking about? For the boss, all in AI means strategic resource allocation, company wide process redesign, management layer restructuring. For the employee, it usually means, on top of your existing workload, learn new tools, adapt to new processes, and deliver AI-fied results, while your pay and grade may not be all in at all. All in is a poker term. You push all your chips to the center. But if the boss is pushing the company's strategic chips and the employee is pushing their personal time, learning costs, and trial and error risks, that's not all in. That's ununilateral stake raising. Second, where does the 2 hours come from? If the boss says put in 2 extra hours daily and also assigns an AI skills competition and a report on how to apply AI in my role, where do those 2 hours come from? From personal time? That's unpaid overtime. From work time? Then should existing KPIs be reduced accordingly? If KPIs aren't cut and you still have to learn, compete, and submit, that's not empowerment, that's task stacking. Third, the benchmark effect of Haisheng's 100 tasks. Haisheng might genuinely be a self starter who loves AI tools and explores them outside work. But once the boss holds him up as a model and accepts his output in front of the whole team, he ceases to be a colleague and becomes a new performance baseline. This is the inertia of industrial era management. Any good individual behavior, once institutionalized, benchmarked, and appraised, instantly curdles into the minimum requirement. It takes only one all staff meeting to go from one person did 100 things to everyone should do at least 100 things. Part 3: Xu Haisheng's 以利 narrative. Why being right can hurt. Now let's look at Xu Haisheng's self-introduction. As I said, his content is almost entirely correct. American education does encourage risk-taking. GPT and Gemini are indeed ahead in general capabilities. High-quality media inputs do boost cognition. Short-form video is information thin. But why does it grate? Because his narrative structure is demonstrating down, not connecting with empathy. Let me break down his framing. US educated. My credentials are better than yours. Founded and sold an AIGC company. My business acumen is sharper than yours. 28-year-old youngest creative director in a Fortune 500. My career trajectory is faster than yours. Young Chinese are too stability seeking. Your choices look conservative to me. Use GPT and Gemini. The tools you use are inferior. Read The Economist, Bloomberg. Your information diet is too low grade. Watch Netflix, not short videos. Even your leisure needs correcting. Mixed English throughout. My linguistic register is more international than yours. Only dollars, use Apple Pay. My lifestyle is more sophisticated than yours. Every single data point does the same thing. Establish a cognitive status gap between me and you. I'm not saying he's showing off deliberately. He may simply be introducing himself. But in a workplace without prior trust, inside the pyramid power structure, that demonstration down is automatically decoded as disciplinary instruction. Not we can learn from each other, but you need to come up to my level. I say this as someone who has traveled to more than 20 countries, studied in Britain, worked in a Silicon Valley accelerator, and now runs an AIGC venture. I can understand every one of Xu Haisheng's points, but I also understand exactly why his team feels gaslit, because they are cognitively downgraded, and yet they remain his subordinates in power. That dual asymmetry, lower on cognition, lower on authority, is the real source of that PUA feeling. Part 4, the real issue, not unwilling to learn AI, but not knowing what I'm learning it for. Now let me jump to the employee's perspective. Why does learning AI feel oppressive to young people? Is it laziness? Resistance to progress? I'd offer a counterintuitive take. Their resistance to learning AI is not resistance to AI itself, it's resistance to being thrown into another game whose rules they don't understand. Let me explain. In the industrial era, the workplace had clear rules. You put in time, you complete defined tasks, you get paid and promoted accordingly. That system is stifling but predictable. You know where to direct your effort, what reward to expect, and what ceiling you're hitting. But the AI era is dismantling those rules. When the boss says all in AI, he's saying the old rules are about to expire. The new rules aren't fully clear yet, but you need to start running now. What does that mean for a young employee? They don't know if learning AI will actually lead to a pay rise or promotion. They don't know if those 2 hours a day will end up as sunk cost. They don't know if the Haisheng benchmark is voluntary exploration or mandatory theater. They don't know if the skills competition is showcasing ability or another round of elimination. In uncertainty, humans instinctively search for a controllable enemy. If the AI game is too confusing, turn the boss into the enemy, because the boss is a villain is a far simpler narrative than what are the rules of the AI era. And that is precisely the function of the workplace gaslighting narrative. It reduces complex uncertainty to a stark binary, oppressor versus oppressed. In that simplified model, young people can at least claim a kind of moral superiority. I'm a victim, so my failure isn't my fault. This mirrors exactly the logic of white guilt in the West. When history is too complicated and the future too uncertain, victimhood becomes the easiest cognitive anesthetic. Part 5, from being asked for more to being given a choice, how those two videos could have been framed. Now, let me use the cognitive framework I call Shen Chuanli's lens to redesign those two scenarios. Scenario 1, the right way to run the all-in AI meeting, not the boss demands that employees go all in on AI, but our team faces a choice. AI is reshaping our industry. I could have management study it and push down directives, or I could let everyone explore first, share their findings, and then together decide which AI tools are worth scaling. I choose the second. Over the next 30 days, each of you can use up to 10% of your working time to explore one AI tool, any tool, domestic or international. After 30 days, we'll hold an AI tool showcase. Whoever finds the tool that best solves our real problems will get resources to roll it out across the team. No mandatory metrics, no competition rankings, just who found a real problem and a real solution. The key shift from KPI assigned from above to choice initiated by the individual. Scenario 2, the right way for Xu Haisheng to introduce himself, not a display of elite credentials, but let me give you my background, not to say I'm better than you, but to say my perspective may also have blind spots. I've spent a long time in the US. My default setting is probably risk first, but many of you in the Chinese workplace may have perfectly rational reasons for choosing stability first. I don't want to start by telling you to be like me. I want to start by hearing from you, in your daily work, which tasks make you think AI could help me with this? And which tasks make you think AI could never replace this? Let's start from your pain points, not from my worldview. The key shift from I am above you to we explore together as equals. Part 6, the deeper structure, why Chinese workplaces need OPC, not just a new leader. Let me go one layer deeper. The conflict in these two videos is not fundamentally about bad bosses or lazy employees. It's about the industrial era organization collapsing, while the new organizational form has yet to be built. In the industrial era, the logic was a few people decide what to do, the majority execute. The leader is the brain, employees are the hands and feet. In that structure, issuing instructions is normal, employee grumbling is normal. But in the AI era, the logic is shifting. Everyone is an information processing node. Everyone is a compute interface. The leader no longer holds a cognitive monopoly because employees using GPT and Gemini can access information faster and more broadly than the boss. When the cognitive gap is flattened by AI, only the power gap remains, and that is the source of the gaslighting feeling. Employees know deep down those AI tools you're talking about. I may use them better than you. That international perspective, I may get more of it from YouTube and podcasts than you do. But you are still my boss, and you still decide my performance rating, my promotion, my job security. So the resistance is not to the content, it's to the mismatch between power and cognitive authority. That's exactly why I've been advocating for OPC, the super individual concept, not to push everyone into entrepreneurship, but to enable each person in their own role to become a node with choice, not a passive task receiver waiting for instructions, but an active interface initiating connections. When employees have the power to choose which AI tool to explore, when they have the freedom to decide whether to join a competition, when they have the right to use AI saved time to create value rather than be assigned more tasks, only then does all in AI shift from oppression to empowerment. Conclusion: from all in AI to all in your calling. Let me go back to that meeting room. If I were that leader, I wouldn't say all in AI. I'd say AI is a ship leaving the dock. You can choose not to board and keep working on the old pier, but that pier is probably shrinking. Or you can choose to board, but I can't fully tell you the rules on board yet because the ship is still being built. What I can do is not push you on, but ensure that once you're on, you have a safety net. If your AI exploration fails, you won't be penalized. If you save time, you won't be given extra tasks. If you discover a new opportunity, you'll get resource support. I don't need you to all in AI. I need you to all in your own calling, to find that problem you'd want to use AI to explore even if there were no external reward. If I were Xu Haisheng, I wouldn't say young people are too stability seeking. I'd say I became a creative director at 28, not because I'm better than you, but because I happened to be in an environment that allowed risk and I could afford to fail. Your environment is different, your constraints are different. I'm not judging your choices, but I want to offer one observation. In the AI era, the definition of stability is changing. It used to mean one job for life. Now it might mean you have the ability to create value anywhere, no matter the context. That ability isn't given by postgraduate exams or civil service jobs, but it isn't automatically given by adventure either. It comes from finding in your daily work that small skill, that small interest, that small insight you want to amplify with AI. Finally, to everyone who's watched these two videos as comedy sketches, you laugh because you see the performance of power. But you also need to see that behind the performance are two anxious people: the boss anxious about whether his company can survive, and Xu Haisheng anxious about whether his elite narrative will be validated. Their delivery was wrong, but their anxiety is real. Your delivery, joking, memeing, calling it gaslighting, isn't wrong either, but your anxiety is also real. The real way out is not to keep playing the oppressor victim game. It's for each of us to become our own all-inner, not all in AI. Not all in the boss's expectations, but all in that calling that makes you want to do it even when no one is watching. Because when AI takes over all compressible logical chains, when organizations shift from pyramids to networks, the only thing that cannot be replaced is your answer to the question: who do you choose to exist for? When AI assumes all compressible logic chains, humanity can finally drop its anxiety about competitiveness and face a more fundamental question. If I no longer need to define myself by skills, who am I? How do I want to exist? This is not a threat, this is liberation.